Hey, it's me, Vicki Marie. Okay, so I'm gonna first thing I'm gonna do before I forget is light the candle. You know, I always like to light a candle at the start of every video. It's normally dedicated it's dedicated to anybody who needs it, basically. Dedicated to the memory of people who have passed. Dedicated to people who are lost, either in a physical sense, like Sebastian Rogers, or just if you're lost in another sense, lost in your life, things going on in your life and you're not sure which way to turn. That's who I light the candle for. And then, but in particular, I light it for the person that I'm going to talk about in the case. So today, this is the lady that we're going to be talking about. Mica, very beautiful woman, very sadly been taken from this earth, too young. And it seems like Mica deleted herself. Mica decided she'd had enough of this life and took herself away from it. But did she though? Because the problem with this case is that her husband, John Paul the pastor, bright shirt, did he have anything to do with it or not? This is the big question. Now, many people would say that even if he didn't actually, pull the trigger, because Mica died of a shotgun wound, even if he didn't actually pull the trigger, did he have something to do with the fact that Mica did it to herself? Now, no criminal investigation has been opened as yet. As far as I know, I think there's still investigations going on. The police will decide whether they want to call it, a homicide or a self-deletion. But of course, there's been a lot of suspicion, and her family are adamant that Mica would not have done this to herself. I've got to say, well, you'll tell me what you think as we go through this video. But what I can see from Mica, she was very conscious of her faith. And, in the Christian faith, deleting yourself is a sin. So it just rests strangely with me that she would have done it. Maybe she did think about it many times. There's a lot of people do think about it, don't necessarily do it. Or maybe she just could not take it anymore in the end, and she did do it to herself. Or was there somebody else had a hand in what happened to Mica? And that, of course, is $1 million question, isn't it? Was this self-deletion, or was Mica helped on her way? And even if it was a self-deletion, how was she pushed into it? So that's what we're going to be talking about. Mica Miller. That's her married name. Now, first of all, we're going to look at her obituary, and we're going to look at the obituary that was issued from the mortuary. This happened just about a week ago, so it's very recent that the whole thing happened. So, but the first thing we're going to look at is the obituary that was released that gives us a bit more information about Mica. So she was born in 1994 and she died in 2024. So literally 30 years old. She's just coming into the absolute prime of her life. Very sad. So this obituary was written on April the 27th, 2024, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Mica Miller, 30, of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, passed away on Saturday, April the 27th, 2024. So let me see, April the 27th. Yeah, so that was not like this Saturday just gone. It was the Saturday before that. She was born in March. She was born March the 7th, 1994, in Wichita, Kansas, a daughter of Michael Francis and Angelita Ramirez. So her maiden name was Francis. She is survived by her husband now, but they were separated. Pastor John Paul Miller of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Stepchildren Logan, Zachary, Eli, Asher, and Zella. Now, these were all John Paul's children by previous relationships. They had no children together. Bless, she had no children. She's survived by one brother, Nate Francis, and his wife, Victoria. Four sisters, Anna Francis, Sierra Brown, and her husband, Matt. Abby Francis and Destiny Barrientos, and husband, Nicholas. Now, I don't know who wrote this obituary, because we saw in another video, didn't we, that sometimes the mortuaries themselves make the obituaries, from information that they're given by the relatives, etc. So I don't know who wrote this obituary. Mica was energetic, affirming, adventurous, faithful, loving, giving, forgiving, talented, joyous, creative, assertive, bold, determined, authoritative, passionate, hardworking, a risk taker, and so much more. She and John Paul have been friends since 2019, married in 2009, married in 2017. So let's just have a little think about that. So Mica was born in 1994. So she's been friends with John Paul since 2019. 2009. So she was 15 when they became friends. Oh, sorry, he's groomed Mica. She's so much younger than him. Of course, he was married and had these 5 children by the time he got together with Mica. He's a lot older than her, a lot older. And it seems like when he first met her, she was literally 15 years old. So that's a bit suspicious. They got married in 2017 and spent almost every single day and night together. Mica loved her little dog Loki. She loved doing outdoor activities like waterfall, rappelling, hiking, skydiving, running, and going to the beach. Mica would take on any challenge, even if it was being a vegan for an entire year. Mica was a great stepmother and an amazing wife and helpmate. They were separated and getting a divorce. You just think, where do these obituaries come from? I'm sure she was all those things when she was married to him, but she was trying to divorce him. She helped Pastor JP with the church in every way. Mica was the worship leader, graphics designer, youth leader, women's ministry leader, and pastor's assistant. And she did all of this with the utmost integrity and faithfulness. Mica made the greatest of efforts to always be the best wife she could be. She truly served Jesus and her husband with all of her heart. She would praise her husband after every church service, telling him he was the best preacher in the world, even if it wasn't true. This has come from him, I think. She also told him he was the funniest preacher in the world, even though that wasn't true either. And believe me, I've seen his sermons and it definitely isn't true. Mica loved her family so much. She looked forward to every text from her father or brother. She saw every opportunity to pour into her sisters. There were thousands of nights that she would pray out loud for God to always bless and take care of her family. They were constantly on her mind. Mica wanted more than anything for each member of her family to serve Jesus continually. Now we'll see. We're going to watch some videos that Mica made herself on her Facebook account. She is very God-fearing, very religious. You know, she talks about Jesus and God a lot. So you know that they had a big impact on her life. That just makes to me very, you know, obviously it's not out of the realms of belief that maybe she did it to herself. But, you know, it is a sin to take your own life as far as Christians are concerned. And I know that for a fact, because when my ex-partner took his life, and I was at university at the time, and I was, you know, well, you can imagine, so I was floundering, because nobody can explain to you, unless you've been through it, how it feels when someone takes their own life. And I would plead with anybody who's thinking about it, please think about, I know it's difficult because people who end up doing things to themselves, they're not in the right place mentally. I know that, I understand that. But please think about the people that you're leaving behind, because how it feels, I cannot explain to you. It's like, you know, this was my ex-partner, and I was relieved in another way because I thought he was going to do something to me otherwise. God knows how it feels when it just comes out of the blue to someone who, you know, how it felt to his daughters. I mean, he had 3 daughters, how it felt to his mum, you know, and his brother. It is a devastating feeling that you leave behind. You know, you may have taken yourself out of this world, out of your pain, but sometimes you have to think about the pain that you're leaving behind for all your loved ones. It's unbearable. So that is probably why it is a sin in God's eyes as well to do it. So when that happened to me, and I was just because I wanted to know, you know, that he was okay. Like, even, you know, anyway, I had some good friends at university who were committed, you know, devout Christians. I mean, I would consider myself a Christian, but I'm not as devout as some people are. And I asked them, you know, where will he be okay? Will he have gone to heaven? And I received no comfort back in that way. Now, my ex-partner, he did delete himself in a different way. He well, you know, I don't know any other way to say it, but he hung himself. And the thing that came back from Christian headquarters, because my friends went and, you know, spoke to sort of people higher up in the church, etc., to get an answer. And I was told that he would not have gone to heaven because his feet were not touching the ground when he died. You know, it's just, you know, this is why religion just defeats, because what sort of comfort is that to someone? You know, and that's haunted me because I thought, God, he's not gone to heaven. Because, you know, he never did, you know, although he stalked me in the end, but he was mentally ill. You know, never did any harm to anybody. I never gave him a chance to do any harm to me because I just kept moving away and changing my address. And every time he found out where I was, I moved somewhere else. So he never got a chance to do any damage in that sense. So he wasn't a bad person, you know, didn't do terrible things to people. Well, luckily he never got a chance to. I think in the end he probably would have done something to me. But he was deteriorating. I didn't realise how far mentally he was deteriorating until afterwards. And I found some of his journals, etc., in our house. But for them to tell me that he hadn't gone to heaven because his feet weren't touching the ground. Now, how this would, I don't know how this would count with Mica. Because ostensibly it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head, though the full details have not been released. So presumably her feet were on the ground. So does that mean she has gone to heaven? Gosh, it's yeah, I'm still not convinced that Mica did this to herself. Anyway, So, Mica wanted more than anything for each member of her family to serve Jesus continually. Mica loved her ice bath, nice car, sauna, house, etc. But more than anything on earth was her desire to see people come to Jesus. A celebration of Mica's life will be held 3 p.m. Sunday, May the 5th. We're going to have a little look at that later. At Solid Rock at Market Common, 803 Howard Avenue, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The family will receive friends immediately following the service. And the family has requested that memorial donations be made to this care place in Africa. Now, this we'll see from her Facebook post, this seems to be something that was close to Mica's heart, sponsoring children in Africa, and we'll have a look at that. I mean, from what I can see, and you'll tell me if you agree or not, but she does seem like she was a very lovely person. Condolences may be made at the this I presume is, what's this, the funeral home. Let's just follow it in. That's the funeral home where Mica was. Oh, yep. I don't know where you leave your condolences. Oh, a testimonial you put. Okay. Hang on, obituaries. Right, okay. Do you go into the obituaries? Right, okay. Oh. There she is, Mica. And that's where the obituary will be, so you can go in. And I don't know if you can leave a testimonial there, I suppose. Let's have a look. 30 years old. Goodness me. So I think you must be able to. Now this is oh, look at these pictures. She's like Wonder Woman and Spider. Why are there all these pictures of him on here when they were separated? You know, this is Mica. He was stalking her. We'll see later. She had a lot of problems with him. And as I say, if he wasn't directly responsible for Mica's death, he was certainly indirectly responsible if he did drive her to do what she did because of the relentless. Who's put these pictures up there? Now, if I was her family, and I'm sure they are quite annoyed, I'd be a bit angry about this, to be honest. Let's have a look at the tribute wall. Oh, candles lit in remembrance. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm still a little bit shell-shocked that he's there on her obituary, to be honest. Because they weren't together anymore. He was with another woman. Why is he even there on that obituary? Anyway, gosh, you know, the world's crazy sometimes. Right, so that was the obituary anyway. I finished really with the obituary. Now the next thing I wanted, let me just tick that off because I've got a list of things that I want to talk about Mica, and it's very important that I don't forget anything because all these things are important. All these things are important in this case, aren't they? Okay, so the next thing I want to look at is why did Mica, so Mica supposedly committed this act in Lumberton, a place called Lumberton. And what I'm wondering, but she didn't live there. She lived in Myrtle Beach, which, let's have a look. There's quite a distance between the two places. You know, for those of us who don't know the area, I looked it up to see the distance. So it's 1 hour and 29 minutes away. So here's Myrtle Beach, where she lived, and here is Lumberton, where she died. So why did she go to Lumberton? Why did she go to Lumberton to do that? Well, of course, there's a lot of issues. Where did she get the gun from? I suppose these are things that the police will be investigating. How, you know, where did she get the gun from? Why did she go from Myrtle Beach all the way to Lumberton, drive an hour and a half to do what she did? Why? Why do it there? What's the significance of that? Because, yeah, people do things for a reason. Especially something like that. And for someone like Mica, as we'll see in her Facebook post and that, she took things seriously. She considered things. You don't get the impression that she was, you know, that she would have done that spontaneously. She would have thought about it and gone there for a reason. Why? Why did she go all that way? Who got her there? So it was some sort of a park, I think, that she went to and did it. So presumably there'll be CCTV. I mean, it may turn out that there is CCTV of her arriving there alone. Apparently she was alone. You know, there's a lot of rumours buzzing around, but until I get official confirmation of what the police say, I wouldn't really like to comment on the rumours. But yeah, maybe she did do it to herself in the end. Strange that she went all the way there, in my eyes anyway. So, and also the thing is, let me just show you, is people are generally saying that Lumberton, it's not a nice area at all. You know, there's a lot of crime there. Look, it's overall niche grade on this website that, you know, calculates what's good and, you know, which places are good or bad to live. It's B minus. And if you look at the different criteria, you know, public schools, C, housing, C plus, B minus, good for families, C, jobs, B plus, cost of living. Yeah, that's well, the cost of living will be cheaper because nobody's got any money. Outdoor activities, B plus. Now, crime and safety, you've just got this sort of, I don't know what that's supposed to mean, just minus. Nightlife, B minus. So the only thing that's good is diversity. A plus for diversity. B plus for weather. Health and fitness, C. Commute, B plus. You know, it's not got the best. You know, I don't know anything about these places in America, but from what people have been saying, I've seen on other channels, people who know America better than me because they are American, saying that it's not a brilliant place to live. Population 19,099, so it's not very big. Lumberton is a town in North Carolina with a population of 19,099. Lumberton is in Robeson County. Living in Lumberton offers residents a sparse suburban feel, and most residents rent their homes. In Lumberton, there are a lot of parks. Maybe that's why she went there, because there are a lot of parks. Maybe she knew that area. Many families live in Lumberton, and residents tend to lean liberal. Yeah, so more people rent than own. The average rent is $758, which that seems quite, yeah, the national is $1,268. So it's quite low rent area, isn't it? Home value, 138,000, but the national is 281,900. So let's have a look at the crime and safety. Oh my God. So, crime and safety, assault. Is this in this year? When is this? I don't know if this is. Oh my God. So, assault in Lumberton, the average 1,942, but the national average is only 282. Murder 43.1 and the national average is 6.1. RAPE 86.1 and the national average is 40. Robbery, look at robbery 328.3 and the national average 135.5. Is this in a year? I mean, I don't know when this is, but. And then property crimes 3,002, national average 500. Theft 7,415, national average 2,042. Motor vehicle theft 812, national 284. So it doesn't seem like it's a very safe place to live. Yeah. So this is a poll. How safe do you feel in this area? Somewhat safe, not safe, pretty safe. Yeah, I think we can gather from that, if that is true, it is not a safe place to be. Now, so the question remains, why did Mica go to Lumberton to do this? Why Lumberton? You know, why Lumberton and why not in Myrtle Beach, where she lived? You know, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, you know, if somebody does decide to do that to themselves, yeah, the next question comes, where do they do it? How do they do it? You know, there's so many, unless somebody just, I mean, why didn't she just do that in her home? Why did she go all the way to Lumberton to do it? Anyway, these things will come out, I'm sure. Okay. Oh, so I want, first of all, before we start to look at Mica's Facebook page and some of her videos, to give us an idea of what kind of person Mica was, we are going to be looking at her husband, at a sermon from her husband. Now, her husband is a pastor at, I presume he still is. Let me just put some windows down. So now at the Solid Rock Church, he is or was a pastor. Now, another interesting thing is when you go onto this church's website, that normally, has got a lot of details about his sermons, etc. The account's been suspended. That's very strange, isn't it? So this is the website that comes up on the internet. And when you go into the website, Solid Rock Church, Myrtle Beach, because there are other Solid Rock churches in America, the website's disappeared. Now, the YouTube videos are still up about the sermons, etc. I did start off recording them because I've got this funny feeling they might disappear at some point. But God, there's so many of them. So I just couldn't sit through them all, to record them. They're like, well, for me, it's just like watching paint dry. But it gives you an idea of this man, this Pastor John Paul. Now, this series, I've just picked out the first one, because he did a series of sermons called, what is it? Perfect Gifts for Imperfect People. So we're going to watch one of these sermons. I'm going to comment on it as it goes along. And as always, you please comment, let me know what you think about it all. Now, he starts off playing some music. He's quite good on the piano. So music is a big part of this church. So anyway, let's just have a look. see what you think of John Paul. I mean, he's obviously very popular with his congregation. You know, oh gosh, I've forgotten I've already recorded this. So I've got it on a video file. Hang on. So let's have a look, see what we think of John Paul's.
Y'all can sing like you've been doing. Okay, it's a good song.
So he's going to play the piano first of all. So he's quite good, isn't he? You know, he's quite good on the piano, that's for sure. Maybe he shouldn't have given up that job. Maybe he should have, because to me, well, you'll see when you're watching this, he would have been far more suited as probably a performer. I suppose that's what pastors are these days, you know. They are performers, aren't they? But, yeah, it's not my cup of tea as far as God's concerned and that. But anyway, let's see.
Y'all stand up. Blessed assurance. Y'all did good. 1 Thessalonians 2:4. God has approved and accepted me. Jeremiah 20:11. God has a great plan for my life. 1 Corinthians 2:16. I have the mind of Christ. Philippians 1:6. God will finish the good work he started in me. Luke 4:18. The Lord has anointed me. I am anointed. God has a great plan for my life. And I will fulfill my destiny. Before you and I fist bump somebody and say we're starting a new series today. Y'all can be seated in Jesus' name. And you know what? We're starting a new series, not because of y'all, because of second service. Because second service got all the questions right last Sunday. I'm serious. I promise you. I'm telling you the truth. I'm serious. I'm not lying to y'all. They got them all right. They got them loud, too. Loud. I mean, they did it good. I was very, very proud of them. But y'all.
Now, you can see that he obviously is popular. This just goes beyond me because straight away when I start listening to him, I just think, oh, God, you know, this is not, in my eyes, someone, somebody who's really representing Jesus or God, or would be much more humble in my eyes, not all this sort of gaslighting rubbish. But but there you go, they're everywhere. And I don't want people saying this is just in America, because it's not only just in America, it's all over the world. and a lot of people like it. Now, if he gives people some comfort, that's good. Sorry, my phone's ringing. Let me just turn it off. If he gives people comfort, that's great. I'm all for that, as long as he's not, abusing their sort of vulnerability.
No. But for their sake, we're starting a new series, okay? Okay, cell phone's muted, Bible's ready. If you want to turn to Romans chapter 11, that'd be a great place to turn to. Romans 11:29 would be a good scripture to look at today. We're starting a new series, and for your notes, the title of it is Perfect Gifts for Imperfect People. Perfect Gifts for Imperfect People. Here's what we're going to do in this series. It's a short series. We're going to look at different...
Oh, he said it's a short series. There's at least 10 videos. They're all about 40 minutes long. I gave up the will to live after just watching this first one. We will watch this first one. But if you want to watch the other, there's another 9 on YouTube. He said it's a short series. I'd hate to see what he thinks is a long series.
People in the Bible that God gifted, and we're going to look at their lives and see how they screwed things up over and over and over again, yet God still used them to do supernatural things. Everybody say the word supernatural. Okay, do you know that God can use natural people like you who do natural things? He can use you to do supernatural things. Do you know that? So that's my burden for this message, for you to leave every Sunday for the next few weeks knowing that no matter what you're going through in life or whatever's coming against you, God can still use you and wants to use you, and he is not shocked at the sin in your life. He knew you would sin. That's why Jesus came to earth, not to condemn us, but to save us and to bring us grace on a regular basis. So you might recognize the opening scripture for today. Tell me if you've ever seen it before or not, okay? Ephesians 4:8-13 says that Jesus left earth and he left giving gifts. Apostle, prophet, pastor, teacher, evangelist. Have you ever seen this scripture before? Okay, for the past 10 weeks maybe? Okay, we'll use different opening scriptures, but today this is what we're going to look at, because today we're going to look at 2 of these gifts. And for your notes, the title of part 1 is this: Prophet and Pastor. Prophet and pastor. We're going to look at a prophet today. We're going to look at a pastor today who God used in mighty, mighty ways. And we're going to go through their life. And
when he first started saying prophet and pastor, I was thinking more of prophet, Profit. I thought, oh God, he's going to talk about the profits that he makes. But of course he doesn't. He means prophet as in Prophet. I suppose he thinks of himself as a prophet.
Look at the supernatural things God used them for while they were still doing natural things on the side. Many times in life, all we look at is our failures, our sin, our disobedience, our faults, and we count ourselves out for God using us to do supernatural things like healing people miraculously, or speaking a word of wisdom into somebody's life, or praying, and just like that, God answers the prayer. Amazing things God wants to do in life. And we see people like Mona, and we think, well, when God gave her a gift, he knew what he was doing, because she prays so well and she loves the word of God. But when God gave me a gift, he really screwed up, because he didn't know I was going to do things, I was going to mess stuff up. And we see people like the V's, Mr. and Miss V, and we think, man, they've probably never gotten into a fight their entire marriage. That's what we think. And we think when God gave, we can talk after service, we think that when God gave them a gift, he knew what he was doing. Right? If he knew, because he knew that they would be such godly people. But when God was wanting to bless me, he couldn't do it because of the things I've done wrong. Okay, listen, Romans 11:29 says, for the gifts and calling of God are without repentance. That means no matter what you ever do, the gift is still there and God wants you to use it. Do you know that unsaved people have gifts from God and they use them just in the wrong way? There are people with prophetic gifts out there who are unsaved and they're using their gifts to sell Amway or something. I don't know what they're using it for, but they're not using it, but they still have the gift. You still have the gift. There are 2 types of people I find in the world, and I would dare say that our church is kind of 50-50 on both sides. There's people who battle arrogance and pride, and they think, man, I'm better than everybody else. And when they see someone else with a gift, and they're thinking, man, why do they live that way? And that, what they're really saying is, I'm better than you, and if God gave me that gift, I wouldn't do those things in that way. Then other side of the table is people that think, man, everybody's better than me. Man, God just, I know he wants to bless me, but he can't do it because I'm not as good as everybody else. Those are the two sides of the camp. We got to come in the balance, in the middle of it, and realize, yes, we're natural people, but yes, God is supernatural, and he wants to use humans. Just like when we talked last week about writing the Bible, God could have written the Bible himself. He's got a hand, but he wanted to use fallible people. He wanted to use flawed people. He connects with human race.
I mean, sorry, that's a totally silly thing to say. God could have written the Bible himself. He's got a hand. What? But he wanted to use other people to write the Bible for him. No, sorry, that is silly.
That's his whole desire, is to connect with us. That's why he sent Jesus. Proverbs 18:16 says that our gift is what opens doors and makes room for us. So no matter what you're going through in life, if you will use the gift that God's given you, and we're going to go through a lot of gifts in this series. There's a gift of giving. There's a gift of encouragement. There's a gift of organization. If you'll use the gift God gave you, he'll open the door to healing. He'll open the door to restoration. He'll open the door to miracles. But you got to use your gift. So don't count yourself.
Now, let's just bear in mind that as he's doing these sermons and talking about all these gifts and doing all these great things, he's stalking and certainly mentally abusing, if not physically abusing his wife. Well, you can make your own mind up about that shortly when we start looking at Mica's videos and the things she said and some of the restraining orders that were put out against him, etc. So he's giving it all, this is telling everybody, all these good things. Look, this is what we do in this church. We forgive. We forgive, we give. Remember the give, that's the big important thing, isn't it? We serve, we respect. And what did he do to Mica? Whether Mica's death in the end turns out to be by her own hand, who's driven her to it?
Out, no matter what you've done. Using your gift is what God uses to change your life. If you need a door to open up, here's how you do it. You use your gift, and God will open the door. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up when I was a kid, and I hung out with the wrong people, living in the wrong place. My father, he was like a craftsman, and he would make things like out of wood and clay and stuff, and he'd sell them to people who would actually use them for idol worship. And at one point, God spoke to my father and told him that we should move our family to a different city away from that, and he didn't listen. Later on in life, he finally passed away, and then God spoke to me. And I took my family, and we moved where God told us to move. During that time, my wife and I were traveling to a different country. It wasn't a vacation. We were just traveling through somewhere. There was a bunch of guys, and I didn't know. I thought they had some weapons or something, and I got scared. And they were looking at my wife, and so I told my wife to go sleep with them in order to save my life, because I didn't want to be hurt. After that, I started tithing, which is a good thing to do. I started tithing. Then after that, I ended up sleeping with a woman that I was not married to. I thought God was done with me, but then he came to me one day and spoke to me and told me he wanted to have a covenant with me, like a relationship, a covenant. He told me he would bless me in abundance. He told me I'd be a blessing to others. He said,
little spoiler alert, he's not actually talking about himself here, but were you convinced that he was? Because it wouldn't have been a surprise, would it? I was watching that and I was thinking, oh my God. And then I thought, oh, it just doesn't surprise me that at all. But anyway, let him finish off his sermon. This is how he likes to put his point across.
If anybody came against me, he would take care of it. I thought, well, God, what's my part of the covenant? And God told me, I want you to cut off a piece of your wiener. And I said, God, I don't really want to do that. And he said, no, that's the sign that we're going to have this cut. I said, God, I don't want to cut a piece of my wiener off. And finally I did it. And I got a sharp stone and it, and then after that.
Really? Do people actually give money to listen to this? Do people give money, go to the church, think this is a good way of talking or trying to put your point across about God, trying to convince, I'm speechless again. It takes a lot, doesn't it, to get me speechless? But it feels like lately I've been speechless quite often.
After that, God made my dreams come true, and he called me his friend. What's my name? Abraham. Point number one for your notes is this: Abraham the prophet. Abraham the prophet. I scared some of y'all for a minute, didn't I?
Yeah.
Some of the visitors were like, what's the name of this church again? It's First United Methodist Church of Myrtle Beach. We're glad you came. Point number one, Abraham the prophet. So listen, for all you Bible people, do you know that God spoke to Abraham before Genesis chapter 12? And I'm going to prove it to you in the Bible. A lot of people think the first time God spoke to Abraham was Genesis 12, but he spoke in Genesis 11, and I'll show you why. Genesis 11:30, and Terah took his son Abram and Sarai. They went out from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan, which is the promised land. They came to Haran, and they dwelt there. Joshua 24:2 says, thus says the Lord God, your fathers, including Terah.
I think I'm going to just fast forward a bit, because even just one sermon I can't quite get through. I'll just fast forward a little bit. As I say, if you're enjoying these sermons and you want to listen to them, they're all on YouTube at the moment.
Natural stuff as well. Here's something supernatural. Genesis 12:1. Now the Lord had said, in other words, he already said before Genesis 12 to Abram, get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house to a land that I'll show you, and I will make you great. Now, it's our job to make God great. He said this, I'm going to make you great. I'm going to bless you in abundance. You'll be a blessing everywhere you go, dispensing good to others. And anyone that curses you, I'll take care of them. If they bless you, I'll bless them, on and on. So Abram went. In other words, even if your entire family is not serving God, you can still be the one to make the change for the generations that come after you. So don't ever let your parents or your grandparents set the direction for your life. Let God set it for your life. So that was supernatural. Let's look at something that was natural. 9 verses later, imagine God telling you he's going to bless you, and 9 verses later in Genesis 12:10, Abram went down to Egypt, and he said to Sarai, his wife, I know you're beautiful, so when the Egyptians see you, they're going to say, this is his wife. And they'll kill me, but let you live. Say that you're my sister, that it may be well with me for your sake, that I may live for you. In other words, sleep with these guys, but do it for me, honey. You're doing it so that I can take care of you. And if you want some Bible history, in Genesis 26:7, Isaac, their son, did.
What is he even talking about? What is he even talking about? Oh, come on. It's just like, it's like white noise for me, this.
The exact same thing with his wife, because Abraham never broke that generational curse. So that's a very natural thing. Let's look at something supernatural. Abraham decided to tithe before God ever commanded or ever even used the word tithe. Genesis 14:18, then Melchizedek, who is Jesus, and I can prove that in Hebrews 7:3, brought out bread and wine. Do we know someone else that did that at the Last Supper? He was the high priest of God Most High, and he blessed Abram, saying, blessed be Abram of God. And Abram gave him, Melchizedek or Jesus, a tithe of all. Okay, you don't give 10% of your income to anything that you don't believe in. So he's a believer. So I need you to see this.
Yeah, give me 10% of your income. That's what he's saying. Oh, dear me, dear me. Oh, it's quite depressing, because a lot of people, you know what, they hang on to this. People like him, he's not the only one. People like him, vulnerable people who need somebody to tell them what to do, or to what, don't get me wrong, I am I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. I do believe in God, and I do believe in Jesus, I think. I'm sort of like, trying to get my head around things my own way. But these are the things that put me off religion, because there'll always be someone scrupulous person. There he is. He's married. He's having an affair with another woman. That is definite. He's having an affair with another woman whose husband died mysteriously a few years before, just after they started having an affair. Her husband was paraplegic, drowned in a swimming pool. I expect there'll be an inquiry opening up about that again. I don't know, but and there he is preaching to people. That's what I just can't be doing with the hypocrisy of it all.
This is a guy who's a believer, who God calls the prophet. There's only a few people on planet Earth at the time that God is speaking to. Abram's one of them. Supernatural things. Now let's look at something natural. Genesis 16:1, Sarah had borne Abram no children. So Sarah said, the Lord kept me from having children. Please sleep with my maid Hagar. Perhaps I can have children by her. And Abram didn't even blink an eye. Abram didn't say, well, twist my arm a little bit. Abram didn't say, let me pray about it for a few minutes. Abram agreed. That is a very natural thing to do. I really want you to see that the people in the Bible, they're just like you and I are. So when you read your Bible, I don't want you to think, oh, it happened so long ago and all this. They struggled with the same things we struggle with, same things. So that's very natural. Let's look at something supernatural. Genesis. Do you see Abram's life is just like this? We all think, man, after I've been serving God for 10 years, I should be better than this. After I've been in church for 15 years, I shouldn't have these problems. After I've been in church for 20 years and saved and filled with the Holy Spirit, now I'm not going to ever screw anything up. Okay, if that's the case, then you are unlike everybody in the Bible, because they all just kept screwing things up. And you know how merciful God is? He just keeps coming back again and again and again and again, because he knew he didn't mess up when he...
It's almost as if to me that he's saying, yeah, do what you want. Do what you want. Your God will forgive you. You know, is that what his credence for his life? Do whatever you want, and God will forgive you. So, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a twonk, doesn't matter if you do horrible things to your ex-wife, doesn't matter what you do, because God will, if it don't matter if you groom a young girl from the age of 15 and then marry her later on and then end up stalking her and making her life a misery. It doesn't matter, because God will forgive you whatever you do.
He gave you the gift. He didn't think, oh, man, I didn't know they were going to do that. He knew the whole time. He just wants you to keep using it. Supernatural. So Genesis 17:1, when Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him. Every male child among you shall have, they cut off a piece of their wiener, and you shall also do it to you too. And it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. Abraham was 99 when he was circumcised. Okay, when you're 99 years old and you're picking...
You know, really, do you think that God, is that what God would want you to do? You know, this just blows my mind, this. I mean, I know it's in the Bible, and I suppose there may be people, those of you out there who believe in all this, but to me, why would God, you know, God, my God that I believe in would not expect people to do weird things like that? But there you go. Apparently he did.
Up a sharp stone, and you tell everybody to turn around for just a minute. You believe in the person that you're talking to who's asking you to do that. Can you imagine the conversation? Abraham, I want to bless you, and I want to do great things. Here's what you do. Every time you have a child, I need you to, you know, and Abraham said, oh, it's no big deal. When the baby's born, we'll take care of it. He won't even remember it. And God said, well, I'm not done, Abraham. I want you to do it to yourself too. What you talking about, Jesus? Why? Well, because it's a covenant between me and you. Noah got a rainbow. Can you just give me like a flower or something like that?
Exactly.
Do I got to cut the whole thing? You know, how far do I go, God? What do I do here? And Abraham did it. That is a supernatural thing to do. Genesis 17:5, you are no longer Abram. Your name will be Abraham. As for Sarah, her name will be Sarah. Okay, you see the H that God added to their name? The H in Hebrew is the letter for the Spirit or the breath of God. The Spirit of God was blown into their life, which is a supernatural thing. But I want you to see what God did. He took out the I and he added an H.
Oh, yeah, because that's the sort of thing God's concerned with, isn't it? Taking out the I and adding a H. That's so important. Can you just imagine him sitting up at night and writing this baloney? I just imagine, I know what I'll do. I'll do this series. Oh, let's do this series, Perfect Gifts for Imperfect People. And I'm going to talk about Abraham cutting off part of his wiener. You know, it's like, oh, yeah. And then his girlfriend at the time or whoever he's with, yeah, that's a brilliant idea. Oh, for goodness sake. I mean, are you fed up? Yeah, I'm fed up. I'm going to fast forward it in a minute to the end.
And that is actually the goal for every one of us in this room, is to remove the I want, and to add, what does he want? What does he want? What does he want? What does he want? You see how God's not done with that? No matter what Abraham does, God just keeps coming back for more. You would think God would say, okay, I'm going to find somebody else. No one has screwed up this bad. I'm going to get somebody that's raised in a good Christian home with good Christian values, who hasn't made the mistakes you've made, and God just keeps coming back to Abraham. Let's look at something natural. Genesis 18:10. The Lord said,
Yeah, ties it all back to the supernatural or whatever. Anyway, let's fast forward a bit. Just want to go to not near the end.
And to sink. Immediately, Jesus stretched out his hand and called him. So the disciples are in a boat, and all of a sudden they, oh, it's a ghost. And Peter says, well, listen, I'll take care of this. Y'all are just such sissies. I know how to do this. Hey, Jesus, if it's you, tell me to come walking on the water in the middle of this storm. And Jesus says, come. And Peter says, what? And the disciples are saying, he said, come. He said, get out of the boat, Peter. That's what he told you to do. Get out of the boat. And Peter walks on water. That's supernatural. Now, surely somebody like that would live a perfect life for Jesus after that. Nothing bad would happen after that, right? You know, Peter's biggest problem was his mouth. Is that any of y'all's problem?
Oh, so this is quite funny, I suppose, if you think of it that way. But yeah, don't forget to leave me to comment if what you think about this. I could be completely wrong. I'm just giving my opinion of this absolute rubbish, basura, as we call it in Spanish. But you know what? You might think that is good. Let me know. We've all got our opinions.
Mainly if you're from up north. I'm joking.
Yeah,
Told you it's me, Peter. I just said it's me. If it's you, command me to come to you on the water. He said, come in the middle of the storm. And Jesus says, come. And Peter says, what? And the disciples are saying, he said, come. He said, get out of the boat, Peter. That's what he told you to do. Get out of the boat. And Peter walks on water. That's supernatural. Now, surely somebody like that would live a perfect life for Jesus after that. Nothing bad would happen after that, right? You know, Peter's biggest problem was his mouth. Is that any of y'all's problem? Mainly if you're from up north. I'm joking. See, all you from up north just did something with your mouth that was wrong. I proved my point.
What a knob. Sorry, what a complete and absolute knob.
Matthew 16:13. Jesus asked his disciples, who do men say that I am? Some say John the Baptist, some Elijah, others Jeremiah. But Adam and says, get thee behind me, Satan.
Yeah, you.
He just recognized that Jesus is the Messiah, and now he's being used by Satan. I bet Peter thought, you know what? That's it. I'm not going to say anything ever again. I'm closing my mouth. I'm never going to fall in this area. I am done saying stupid things. How many days do you think Peter went saying nothing stupid? 6 days. In Matthew 17:1, now after 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John, his brother, led them up a mountain by themselves, and he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun. His clothes became dazzling as white light. And behold, Moses, who had been dead for 1,400 years, and Elijah, who had been dead for 800 years, appeared to them, talking with them. Then Peter answered. Okay, nobody asked him anything. Nobody asked him a single thing. And you'll see so many times in the Bible that no one say nothing, and Peter just answers, okay? Peter answered, Lord, you made a good choice when you brought me up here with you. I know you could have chose other guys, but you chose the right one. It is good that we're here. We should start 3 churches while we're up here. One for me. But anyway, okay. So Jesus is washing their feet, but he answered, even if all of them out, and then you know this. So what I'm saying is, even when you fall, you still love Jesus. Even when you make a mistake, you still don't ever think that you have fallen out of love with Jesus when you do something stupid. We do things stupid because we're sinners and we're human. But we have to keep getting back up for God to use us, because that's what changes us over and over. So watch this, Acts 2:41. If Peter had stayed down, Jesus is not shocked at our sin. And it's crazy. And the road's too small. And you know what?
I just think he could have sort of done this a lot more quickly.
There's hardly any wrecks. Wrecks are very rare in Jamaica and Bermuda. Very rare. In America, we have some of the widest roads in the world. We have more policemen and more policewomen. We have more stoplights and stop signs and street signs. And do you know, we are the leading country in wrecks. Why is that? Why is it that in Jamaica, Bermuda, Caribbean, the roads are narrow, there's cars everywhere and mopeds going, and nobody gets in a wreck? And in America, wide roads, red lights, and there's wrecks all the time. Here's why. In those other countries, Jamaican places, they expect people to get out of their lane. So they're always watching out. I mean, they're always watching out. They expect a moped to come around them any minute. They expect somebody to get over on their side of the street. So they're always looking for it. In
I'm just not sure what his point is here.
America, we are shocked if you get out of your lane. If you even get this much of your tire over the line in the middle of the road, we will sit on our and caught in adultery. He was not shocked to the woman.
Oh, I think we're sort of more or less at the end of it now.
Stop you from letting God use you to do supernatural things in life. Amen. Let's go to the Lord in prayer today. Heads bowed, eyes closed. We just want to take a few minutes for the Lord to speak to you.
Just makes you wonder, what is the Lord saying to him? Wonder what the Lord's saying to him right now as he's praying. What is he saying to you? What is the Lord saying to John Paul, Pastor John Paul Miller?
I'm going to try to help you discover some of your gifts as well during this series. But if you're here today and you know that God's hand's been on your life, like you know God's been wanting to use you to do something that you can't do on your own, something that would be supernatural. Whether it's praying for the sick and them healed, opening up your own business, being the world's best giver. You know God's been opening doors as they use that gift.
I've got to just fast forward it now, yeah. So he's a Jim Jones type. For those of you who don't know who Jim Jones is, let's hope he doesn't end up like Jim Jones. I've done a video about Jim Jones. It's the Jim Jones story just had a profound impact on me when I heard about it. But I'll try and remember to put the link to that video in the description so you can, but be aware it's a very harrowing story. The story of Jim Jones, who was like a charismatic leader, like him, a religious leader, but just, but on speed, take him and put him on acid because he just convinced all these people to go and live with him on a plantation, out of America. And anyway, he eventually persuaded, they call it a mass self-deletion, but probably a lot of those people that died in Guyana under the Jim Jones took the Kool-Aid. When people thought about, drink the Kool-Aid, that has come from the Jim Jones case, because they persuaded everyone, either made them do it, and when I say everyone, his whole community, which were adults, children, even the dogs, they gave the Kool-Aid to, and they died. Hundreds of people. It's a very harrowing story, but it just shows you, I think it's a good example, an extreme example of how these cults, to me, that's nothing more than a cult, really. I mean, it's just a different way of looking at a cult. Charismatic leaders, people following them, how they can end up when they go to extremes. So, yeah, it's a Jim Jones sort of type character, which is never a good thing. So anyway, what we're going to look at now is Mica. Oh, before we look at Mica, I just want to show you. We'll look at Mica first, because she's the most important thing. So this is Mica's Facebook page, Mica Miller. So I went up at the top there, that was her with her family. So he's not on any of her Facebook photos, etc., because they were separated. That's why I was so surprised about the obituary. So she's got no workplaces to show, no relationship info to show. Went to Socastee High and lives in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. There's no workplaces, no university on there. And the only place lived on there is Myrtle Beach. No basic info or contact info, no family members, no relationship, nothing on that bit. And I don't think there's nothing on her life events. So it's a very basic Facebook. You know, maybe she's changed it all when she split up from the pastor. These are her friends. I don't feel bad about, but this is all public. You know, it's not private, so I don't feel bad about showing it. I feel for her friends. And of course, it's her friends and family that are determined that there should be some sort of investigation into her death because they're not happy at all. So then look at her photos. So you see that photo with the African children. You see that's something that's close to her heart. So then she's got a few videos on there on her Facebook, and we're going to look at the videos. So it seems like she was baptized recently, re-baptized, if you like. You know, this is a big thing. I know quite a lot of people that have done this. You know, it's like starting your life again, washing any sins of you. She's probably washing him away. Washing him away, starting her life again. Oh. I'm glad she had some happy time.
I just wanted to say that I am so happy to be born into this country where we have job opportunities that are better than what I've witnessed in other countries. I remember driving past a man sitting on a giant rock, and he had like a chisel and a hammer. And I asked the people that we were with, what is that man doing? And they said that is his job. He finds a big boulder in the wild, and he beats it into littler rocks, and then beats those rocks into littler rocks. And then he bags up all the rocks, and he puts them in a wheelbarrow, and he takes them into town, and he tries to sell them for landscape, for construction, whatever. So if you have a job that is better than that, be so thankful today.
I completely agree with that. Do you know, we do all moan, don't we? Don't get me wrong, I'm the world's worst sometimes. We all have a little moan every now and again, don't we? We'll all have a little wallow because we've got to do this or we've got to do that. But whenever that happens, we have to think, God, but we're so lucky in the lives that we've ended up with. It might not be perfect lives, but there's people, you know, that are looking at our lives and it's their dream. You know, that is a fact of life. And I'll tell you what she's saying there was something that always occurs to me, because here in Spain, there are a lot of ladies, let's say, at roundabouts, or even just on the road in plastic chairs with a parasol or whatever. They're out there, whatever the weather, the ladies of the night, except they are ladies of the day. You know, you're driving past them. And every time I drive past one of those women, I thank God, because you don't care what anyone says. None of those women are sitting there because they, you know, as they were growing up, they thought, oh, I want to be a prostitute that sits out in 40-degree heat in Spain and waits for some dirty old workmen to come along and, you know, pay me for sex. There's no girl grew up dreaming of doing that in the future. Don't care what anyone says. They can say it's a choice. They can say it's not a choice. That is human trafficking. That is trafficking. Those women, they've been trafficked one way or another. Sometimes they've been brought in from other countries and they've had their passports taken off them. Maybe they've fallen into really hard times and that's their only way, you know. And I'm not talking about in Spain, I'm talking about everywhere. Don't ever be sniffing, look down on people. Maybe they're drug addicts. Maybe they're trying to feed their children. You know, who knows? And it's definitely a case of there but for the grace of God. You know, and every time I drive past one of those women, and some of them, they're so young. I mean, they're all different ages, all different shapes and sizes. There's no, you know, it's, you know, there's no, they're not all very young girls, you know. But I've not only seen it, I saw it in Manchester years ago in the red light areas, etc. You can never, you are lucky. Like she's talking about that guy there and that job. His job is to just, you know, take a rock, mold it into smaller rocks and then take them off into the city and try and sell them. But you know what? There's worse jobs than that. So yeah, there isn't a day that I don't think I am so lucky. The jobs that I do, you know, I have two jobs in a way. I've got my Spanish teaching and I've got the YouTube. They're both sort of jobs in different ways, but I love doing both of them. How lucky am I? I work from home. I live in a country where the sun's shining most of the time. Yeah, there's things that are irritating. Just like no life is perfect. And, you know, there's always things that you haven't got. But if you focus on what you have got instead of what you haven't got, you always feel better. So it's lovely that what she said there. She does come over as a very lovely person, Micah. So whatever's happened, whether it's he's had anything to do with it or whatever, it is an absolute tragedy that Micah is no longer on this planet because the world needs people like Micah.
I just wanted to say that I
So I think Cain is this group. I don't know, and somebody might correct me there, but I think so she says the biggest, this is the 23rd of March, so not that long ago, biggest honour of my life to share a stage with Cain. So I presume that's this group, and there must be some sort of, you know, Christian rock band. So you can tell she's loving that. Well, I'm glad she got to do that.
So today my heart's a little heavy.
Now, so this was the 22nd of March. Her heart's a little heavy. Now, we have seen this video before. I've played this, but we're going to listen to it again. Please share this with anyone struggling with leaving a dangerous situation because they think, and then I can't go into the rest of it because this is a recording, but this is thought to be, she's talking about what she was going through.
I've had a lot of women that have reached out to me about situations of abuse. And I just want to tell you what a lot of people have told me lately and reminded me because I think I forgot. I knew, but I pushed it in the back of my head just because of my situation. But you are the bride of Christ. Before anybody else's bride, male or female, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what gender you are. Abuse is abuse. And you are the bride of Christ. And my Bible says that he took all the abuse you could think of for you so that you didn't have to live that life of slavery and bondage and pain. Jesus took it all for you. So you don't have to stay in a abusive relationship, whether that's sexual, whether that's somebody forcing you to take illegal drugs.
Y'all stand up.
Sorry, what happened there? Oh, I pressed the wrong
The scriptures that I've found, it's because it hurts people. My Bible says that he took bondage and pain.
So obviously she's gone through this pain, etc. But just what I was trying to pause on there, and it ended up going back to the beginning, is what she said there, which I thought was, and the look on her face.
Jesus took it all for you. So you don't have to stay in a abusive relationship, whether that's sexual, whether that's somebody forcing you to take illegal drugs.
Someone forcing you to take illegal drugs, and then the look on her face. See if I can freeze it when her eyes.
Bondage and pain. Jesus took it all for you. So you don't have to stay in a abusive relationship, whether that's sexual, whether that's somebody forcing you to take illegal drugs.
Yeah, look at her face there. That seems to really resonate. Someone forcing you to take illegal drugs. You know, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? I think whatever's happened to this poor woman, as I say, if she hasn't done it, if she's done it to herself, she's done it to herself because of him, no doubt.
Or alcohol abuse, or physical abuse, psychological abuse, making you think that this is all your fault, or you're a bad mom, or you're a bad wife, or you're a bad husband, or you're not giving it your all when you know you are. God hates divorce, but why? According to everybody I've asked and the scriptures that I've found, it's because it hurts people. But does abuse hurt people?
Yeah, it seems to me that she's probably struggled with, because you can tell she's got a lot of faith, you know, whatever you think of it or you believe it or not, she believes it. You can see that. She's got a lot of faith, and she's probably struggled with getting a divorce because she's thinking, well, God doesn't agree with divorce. But what she's saying here, you know, like she's saying, but does God want us to be abused then? You know, she's sort of, this is almost talking out loud with this sort of this ethical struggle she's probably having in wanting a divorce, desperately wanting a divorce, but it being against her faith, and it will have been difficult for her.
How do you think God feels about that? So I want to remind you, like a bunch of people have been reminding me lately, that I'm God's bride first. And even an earthly spouse who's a good spouse, when they know that their bride is being hurt, just imagine what an earthly spouse does. What do you think your heavenly spouse does when you're the bride of Christ and he sees his bride going through abuse and hurt? What do you think he thinks about that? So, encouragement in all this is you are the bride of Christ first before anybody else's. And he's got you. And he sees you. And he loves you.
Poor Mica. Poor Mica. She's trying to make the best of it all. Struggling with her faith.
So today my heart's a little heavy. So I just thought of something as I'm listening to a song called Trouble by Kane. And
So Cain is that group that she was singing with earlier. So they're obviously a favourite group of hers.
I just wanted to give you a dare today. I dare you to do something either good for yourself or someone else.
So this one was the 21st of March.
Because, like, the second greatest command, love your neighbor as yourself. And it makes the enemy so mad. Because, like, when Job, in his misery, like, took time to pray for his friend, or the woman gave up her last flour and oil to the prophet, or when you're going through something horrific and sad and awful, but you take the time to call and encourage your friend, or pause in your prayers, lifting up your concerns and worries and cares, and you pause to pray for your friend whose family member has cancer, or to lift up their daughter or son who's just going through a season and they need prayer. Nothing makes the enemy more mad, because that's God's heart. Opposite of selfishness. It's just love, loving God's people the way you know God loves you, and pouring it out onto someone else. And let's do something good for somebody else and make the enemy so mad today. Hope you do it. I'm going to do it.
Bless.
So I just thought, hey everybody, I just wanted to share the chorus of a song that came to my head the other day.
This was the day before, the 20th of March.
I was just kind of battling thoughts of just kind of like human thoughts, you know, things that you want to do. And it's just a fleeting thought, you know. And then this song came to my mind because it says, you know, bless those who curse you, pray for your enemies, things like that. And so I just wanted to sing this really quick and see if it encourages you. I hope it does. But it says, I pray for your healing. The circumstances would change.
Oh.
I pray that the fear inside would flee in Jesus' name. I pray that a breakthrough would happen today. I pray miracles over your life in Jesus' name, in Jesus' name. So pray for those who curse you.
Really, it really makes me cry that, you know, even though probably Mica is much more sort of in this religious thing than I am in my head, but that was just so lovely, her singing that, so poignant. Who are these enemies that she keeps talking about? She keeps mentioning these enemies. Pray for your enemies. Who does she mean, I wonder?
Bless those who curse you. Speak well of those who are not speaking well over you, because
bless those who
God
curse
sees
you.
all, God hears all.
Bless those who curse you. Speak well of those who are not speaking well over you. Who is she referring to, I wonder?
He knows all. And if you keep your heart right and his will be done, not yours, it's all going to work out. So I hope it encourages you today.
Bless her.
Hey everybody. I just want to let you know that I'm alive and well, and life's been kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was odd, wasn't it? I just wanted you to. So I think reading between the lines, what happened with Mica, she sort of disappeared off it. She was on social media a lot, and she sort of, as all this has been going on, whatever it was, which I suppose is going to come out as time goes on, the exact details of what was going on. She's obviously withdrawn, like, from the social media a bit, When was this one? Let's have a look. Is this the last one?
And his will be done, not yours. It's all going to work out. So I hope it encourages you today.
Let's just have a look at the date of this next one.
Hey, everybody.
20th. So the same day. Oh, no.
Hey, everybody.
19th.
I just want to let you know that I'm alive and well. And life's been kind of crazy the couple past weeks, months, years.
Oh.
But I've kind of had to keep my circle really small for the past couple weeks just because I'm going through a lot and it's hard and it's my cross to bear. It's the thing that God has put in my life to deal with, and I don't want to bring a lot of people into it. I'm so thankful to God for a strong family and the friends that God has put in my life to be there for me at this time. I just wanted to share that my heart and my prayer is that the church would stay strong, that y'all would stick together, because the church is God's people. It's not a man, it's not a person, it's not me, it's God's people, the bride of Christ. And it's a lot of really good people in the church.
I mean, she does look very unhappy. She definitely looks very, very unhappy here in this particular video.
That I just hope would continue on, press toward the calling, run your race, stay encouraged, stay in your word, keep worshiping. Like I can't wait to worship again with everybody, but for now I'm just worshiping with me and Jesus.
Oh.
To God. And I don't think God would be pleased with me if I just jumped right into missions and women's events and creative.
Yeah, she looks very unhappy here, and then she's very concerned with what God thinks of her. This is what would surprise me if she had taken her own life, because she or did she just think that would take her to God, and she wanted to be with God, and she just couldn't cope anymore with real life, you know, with that swamp sort of and the horrible things, whatever they were, that were going on, you know. So who knows what goes through people's minds.
Directing and worship leading and stuff, I think when your world is shook up, you need to take a pause. And I can only pray that more people will take a pause and I'm trying to get my priorities straight right now. And that's making sure that my heart doesn't have any unforgiveness, bitterness, resentment, just forgiveness and hope for the future and peace. Because you can't put a price on peace.
Peace, yeah, and she looks very sad there, doesn't she? You can't put a price on peace. Sorry, I'm getting upset, but you cannot put a price on peace of mind. What people go through sometimes. And of course he'll blame it all on mental illness, nothing to do with his behavior, of course.
From God. So thank you for all your prayers and support. Know that I have to keep my circle really, really small right now. I'm used to having a really big circle, so it's hard because I want to reach out to everybody and tell you how much I love you and I miss you. This is the best way that I know how. So I love you all. I miss you. Thank you for your love and support over the last couple years. And some of you, up to 18 years walking with me as my friends. And for right now, I've just had to put everything on pause to get myself right. And I think God's happy with that. So keep praying for me. Thank you. And I love you. I'll be praying for you. God bless you. Bye.
Gosh. She's a sensitive soul, isn't she? And it's such a shame because the world needs more people like Mica, you know, who are nice people. You know, nice people. Why do the horrible people always seem to prosper more? I don't know. Gosh.
Hey, everybody.
So those were the videos that were on her Facebook. These were the photos. Yeah, I think Mica has been a big loss to the world. I really do think she has. The world has lost somebody special. I'm just going through these again here. Now, there's been her last post. This was, this has been thought of as maybe significant. This was more or less one of the last posts she put on. This selfie. And let me just read the post to you and try and get to the right moment. Yeah. When terrible, terrible, terrible things happen to you, you all know what I'm talking about. Resting peace face. You know, and a lot of people went on to say they miss her. I think she'd just withdrawn herself, hadn't she, by the sound of it, from life. Sorry, I'm trying to stop it at the right moment so we can read it properly. Oh, God, going through all this again, sorry. Trying to get it to the bit where you can actually see the post. Big sigh from me there for some reason. Yeah, when terrible, terrible, terrible things happen to you, you all know what I'm talking about. RPF, resting peace face. Still blessed, God is good. And then that's so that was the 9th of April. That's one of the last posts that she made. Anyway, that's more or less it from Mica's Facebook page. Oh, yeah, I wanted to read this. This was interesting. So remember the solar eclipse? We covered it live, didn't we? And, you know, a lot of people thought the world was going to end on that day. So she did make a post on the 8th of April, the solar eclipse post. Yesterday at church, we learned about what it means to bless someone. If today really was the last day of this world as we know it, I'd like to use it to bless every one of you. The Lord bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his presence go before you and behind you and beside you. So that was lovely. So I think we can all agree that Mica seems like she was a very lovely person. She obviously had some issues. She was struggling with some things. But was she struggling so much that she took her own life? I mean, was she? Did she? You know? Let me just... Okay, so then I came across an article. Let's have a look at this article. one of the church magazines. I've got to start it from the beginning. Read it. Oh, I'll just let it go on to try and find the right spot. I could be there forever. Okay, so yeah, South Carolina pastor. Oh no, this is the New York Post. South Carolina pastor. God, if I don't stop it right as it comes onto it, it's like goes past it. Let me go again. South Carolina pastor husband claims his wife died of suicide as family urges the police to deeply investigate her death. So a South Carolina pastor claimed his wife committed suicide Saturday, 6 months after she filed for divorce. So yes, 6 months since she filed for divorce. Why was he all over her obituary? And her family pleaded for police to deeply investigate. She was found to have suffered a fatal gunshot wound to the head at Lumber River State Park in Lumberton. Why was she in Lumberton? So her husband, John Paul Miller, is the pastor of Solid Rock Church in Myrtle Beach, of which the website is now no longer. And he broke the news of her death during a recent service after asking his congregation not to discuss it inside the church. My wife has passed away. It was well, we're going to watch that again. We've watched it once and we're going to watch it again. So I'm not going to read all that out. So friends of the pastor's late second wife were taken aback over Mica Miller's death and urged officials to look into it deeply. This has to be at least looked into deeply. Hang on, I don't know if I'm sharing this or not. Oh yeah, I am. This has to be looked into deeply. There's got to be some accountability here. Because yes, a tragic life was lost, and it's not just as simple as mental health issues. I mean, it has to be looked into. It may turn out that Mica did do it to herself, but I think there needs to be an investigation. Anyway, so an investigation. The police said officers are in the process of gathering information from people in South and North Carolina as part of their investigation into how Mica, not Miller, Mica died. Major Damian McLean told the outlet. So McLean revealed there was no indication of the community being in danger. She had struggled with suicide before. Each time we would help her through it and take her to a doctor, and we got through it and everything was fine. She even gave a few testimonies here at church that we have on video, John Paul said. She battled suicide, but God took care of her and got her through it. As the pastor claims, he and his wife spent every night together for hours just talking and talking and talking. Mica Miller filed for divorce from her husband in October 2023, according to court records viewed by the Post. So he's in, I don't know. Maybe he didn't do anything, but do you just feel that he did something one way or another? You know, even if it was just sort of making her life an absolute misery. So the case was, so she filed for divorce, but it was dismissed in February. And then a few days later, John Paul Miller filed for separate support and maintenance, seeking financial support as the couple was still legally married. So, of course, the 5 children that they had were his children, her stepchildren. Her family is seeking justice for Mica. as they claim a no contact order and a divorce was filed days before her death. We are devastated, they said. Prayers appreciated. There's a lot of talk already going on, so I want to set the record straight. Our sister Mica Miller passed away yesterday. Please do not listen to false stories being shared about her. Mica Miller's sister Samantha shared on Facebook, Mica was a God-fearing, joyful, loving woman who did not deserve the abuse she endured. If you hear anything about this from anyone other than her family, please question it. Reach out to her siblings or parents. Keep our family in your prayers. And if you have any information that can be shared, please contact one of us. Please respect us in this time and honour that memory that at least she is no longer suffering. Bless. Bless, bless, bless. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to... Yeah, we're going to just watch his announcement one more time. Very strange announcement.
We're not going to do altar call today. Instead, I'm going to have you stand up and I'm going to make an announcement. And after the announcement, I'm going to ask that you leave church quietly and don't talk about the announcement here in the building, please, if you can. So y'all can stand to your feet. Before I make the announcement, I also want to say that my request to you is that you will continue to come to church and serve and give for the next, little bit. 'Cause I don't want to I'm taking a little bit of a break, and I don't want to have to worry about the church. My break may be a few days, a few weeks. I don't know. I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. And yeah, it was self-induced, and it was up in North Carolina. And we're going to have a funeral for her next Sunday here at 3 p.m. And so it's all I can, I'm just kind of going on adrenaline right now. So y'all pray for me and my kids and everybody. And y'all knew that she wasn't well mentally, and that she needed her medicine that was hard to get to her. And so I'm sure there'll be more details.
She wasn't well mentally. Really, one, he shouldn't have announced this publicly like this. This is a private thing. But straight away, he's like trying to cast aspersions onto a mental state. Then he's like, pray for me and pray for my kids. What about praying for Mica? Whatever's happened, whether it's her who's done it to herself or whether he's had anything to do with it, he's not a nice person in my eyes.
But just keep our family in your prayers. And I'm going to let Pastor Randall, my bishop, he can pray. I'll get a microphone to pray out. And if you have anything you want to share as well, I appreciate it.
He's a wolf in sheep's clothing, that man. A wolf in sheep's clothing. Not a good man. He's up there. Yeah, pray for me and pray for my kids, and don't pray for Mica. I mean, why does he not even say that? Anyway, I'm going to stop that now. It's more or less everything that I recorded. So, this is the story so far. A lot more to come out, I think. But apparently, let's look at this article. So apparently her court filings show a woman living in fear. Let's have a look. Apparently she said she's so beautiful as well. Not that she's coming into the prime of her life. She's 30. She's spent the early years of her life being groomed and exploited by that horrible person. She's now coming to a point where she's going to be free. She's going to be free, and she's coming into the best time of her life in her 30s. And unfortunately it's all come to an end. But she apparently said to a friend, if I end up with a bullet in my head, it was not by me. So that's why everyone's suspicious. Yeah, so they go through the social media messages, which we've gone through. There's your twonk again. Yeah, dear me. And then it goes through the speech that we've just watched. So immediately following that announcement, her family went on. So of course the police will have contacted him first because he is still her next of kin. So imagine the police went straight to him first. I don't know when the family and friends got to know about it, whether it was from him or from that bloody sermon announcement. So Mica Miller's body was found last weekend at Lumber River State Park in North Carolina. A little over an hour's drive. Well, it said an hour and a half on the Google thing that we looked at. It's been reported her death was the result of a gunshot wound to the head, but the exact circumstances surrounding how or why her body located are still unknown. Friends have indicated she had no known ties to the area and no known reason to be there. Behind the scenes, her family were actively taking steps to protect her estate as tensions were beginning to escalate. I expect there's insurance money involved as well. There always is. Yeah, so an application was filed by attorney Jarrett Bouchette in Horry County Probate Court on behalf of Mica's sister Sierra Francis, and that application sought to appoint Francis, or Sierra, as a special administrator of Mica's estate. Attached to this application were affidavits and exhibits showing why friends and family are actively seeking a full investigation into her death. The appointment of a special administrator was requested to preserve Mica's portion of the marital estate, obtain confidential records from the mental health Waccamaw Mental Health South Strand Medical Center, Grandstand Regional Medical Center, and Victims Advocacy to gain access to and take possession of any wills, deeds to cemetery plots and insurance policies, or other estate-related documents in descendants' safe deposit box. And according to a memorandum in support of this request, the timing of Mica's death was very suspicious. As we previously reported, just prior to her death on April the 15th, Mica filed for divorce from her husband. As we reported, J.P. Miller was served these papers on April the 25th, 2 days prior to her death, so it does all look suspicious. Did he talk her into it? Even if he didn't do it, did he talk her into it? The hearing related to this filing had been scheduled for June the 5th, 2024, in front of the South Carolina Family Court Judge Jan Brommel Holmes. At that hearing, Miller's attorneys had hoped to attend an order which would restrain John Paul Miller from disposing of, encumbering, transferring, selling, hypothecating, pledging, destroying, or otherwise altering the status or value of any marital asset. So always follow the money, isn't it? Because Mica Miller's divorce papers were filed prior to her death, the portion of the divorce seeking equitable division of assets, basically the individual share of the marital estate, survives even if the individual dies. That means Mica's estate can seek to recover that portion of the marital estate so long as a claim has been filed. The memorandum in support of installing Mica Miller's sister as administrator pointed out it would be impractical for Mr. Miller to be appointed as special administrator. Oh, you don't want him in charge of all the assets or personal representative of Mica's estate, as he has a pecuniary interest in the outcome of such a claim regarding the marital estate. It is prudent for a third party to be appointed for this purpose to ensure that the results are equitable to those involved. The affidavits from Mica's sister and brother go into further detail about what the young wife was experiencing in the weeks and days leading up to her death. In her affidavit, Mica's sister, who said she spoke to Mica every few days and texted with her daily, stated that Mica expressed the abuse and violence against her by her husband to others, including family members and members of the church organisation. Oh, bless. The affidavit claimed that Mica was living in fear as she prepared to serve divorce papers on her estranged husband. It added that J.P. Miller allegedly had people following his wife and keeping track of where she went, which he reportedly acknowledged in at least one sermon. Mica also told her sister that J.P. Miller had been moving assets around to avoid them being included in the marital estates. Specifically, she stated that he transferred the deed to their house to the church and transferred his interest in a local piano bar called Crocodile Rocks to his son. According to the affidavit, Mica had been gathering evidence in preparation to file for divorce, evidence which would have supported her claims of abuse, character, his paramours and associates he paid off or blackmailed when she was admitted to the Whack-A-Mole mental health facility. According to her sister, when Mica was discharged from the facility, unbeknownst to her, J.P. Miller had moved her belongings out of the house and all the evidence she had gathered was removed from her phone, personal laptop, vehicle and purse and never recovered. Mica was further unable to access her email, iCloud or Facebook account following this admission. Additionally, J.P. Miller allegedly continued to use at least one of her accounts, causing any recipient who received messages from it to believe they were sent by Mica. Mica's sister says that in the weeks leading up to her death, she was very hopeful about her future, but had expressed fear that she would not make it to the divorce and her life would be taken from her. She told Sierra many times, if I end up with a bullet in my head, it was not by me, it was JP. Let's just have a little look at the memorial.
It's obvious here today that Mica was loved and touched, and this is just a fraction of people of the lives that she touched. Okay.
So this was
so
the
we want to
memorial on
keep this
the
all
beach.
about her life and the
We're not
lives
going to
that
watch
she
the whole
touched
thing,
and
because
will
it's
continue
5
to touch.
minutes long.
Okay.
Oh,
It will be a ripple of amazing. One of the people in the church, it was from the UK, she says, "Oh, you look like one of the Spice Girls." And Mica looked down to your heart.
I will play this
right?
fully on a
Because
video
Mica's
on another
actually
time.
praying for us.
It's just this video's
Here.
been so long already.
No matter what, that relationship is between you and Jesus. Nobody else. Nobody else is responsible.
Because I think it'd be quite nice to watch, actually. We might even spot JLR, because JLR was there.
A family that loved her.
Speaking of JLR, I'm going to show you a little bit of a video he took in a moment. Anyway, we'll look at that in another video. I'll look at that more closely. So the worst fears of Mica Miller's friends and family were released on April the 27th, 2024, but a campaign immediately began to find the truth about how she died. After being informed they were not welcome to attend Mica's funeral at the church, she had allegedly been trying so hard to escape. This is the problem, because they were still married. He's her next of kin. He will have been in control of everything. So Mica's friends and family held this memorial for her on Sunday on the beach, a place she loved, based on the many photos of her beaming with an ocean in the ocean in the background. There they celebrated the life of this young woman and demanded a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding her death. Count on our media outlet, which first reported on Mica's suspicious death last Thursday, to keep our audience up to speed. And here they showing the application for the administrator, etc. again, there's 18 pages. So this was the obituary that we've been through, looked at. So this is Fitz News, who I don't know, but they're obviously some sort of local news there. And the guy, this is the reporter. He did
marks the celebration of life for 30-year-old Mica Miller, the wife of Pastor John Paul Miller, or PJP, whose suspicious suicide last week has since brought national attention, including allegations of grooming and slave labor from within PJP's congregation and bloodline. Now, Fitz News is heading on over to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina this afternoon to cover what we can regarding her memorial service. Now, if you or someone you know has something you'd like to contribute to our coverage of Mica Miller, please email me via andy@fitznews.com or our research director, Jen Wood, via research@fitznews.com. Stay tuned, y'all. This story is about to get interesting.
So, yeah.
Good afternoon, y'all. Andrew Fancher of
JLR's on it. So the next thing I just want to show you briefly. So JLR was up there. You know, JLR is a YouTuber we know well on this channel. We've looked at a lot of his work, and he was up there. He went up for who did he bump into? But the husband. Let's have a look.
There he is. There's his truck.
So as JLR was there, he saw his truck arriving and over he went, as he does. You know, he likes to chat to people.
Hey, how are you? A lot of people, hey, sir. A lot of people want to know if you murdered your wife.
He doesn't beat around the bush, does he? A lot of people want to know if it, but he was, you know, he wasn't saying you murdered your wife, I suppose, but the guy just shut the door and off he went.
Okay, so he closed the door. This is Pastor John Paul Miller right here. This is Pastor John Paul Miller. And he lives in the development over there, Coldwater. He just came over and told me, turn off the camera, and he just bailed out.
Yeah, he didn't want to be filmed. I sort of don't blame him for that, really. But of course, it was an opportunity for him to, you know, say something positive. Let's look one more time.
Hey, how are you? A lot of people, hey, sir. A lot of people want to know if you murdered your wife.
Joe, I do worry about JLR sometimes, because one day there's going to be, you know, what if he got a gun out of his glove compartment? I do worry about him. I hope he's got a bloody bulletproof vest on under that hoodie.
Okay, so he closed the door. This is Pastor John Paul Miller right here. This is Pastor John Paul Miller. And he lives in the development over there.
Okay, so, you know, that's the story so far. That's all I've got with you. I've got for you today. It's quite a long video, but I will go and look at that vigil another day. It's justice for Mica, isn't it? Justice for Mica, one way or another. This girl, this young girl, 30 years old, she's either taken her life or had her life taken from her, from a man. You know, this man groomed her from when she was 15 years old, and then at some point decided he wants to have an affair with another woman. You know, she wanted to divorce him, but she never got a chance to divorce him and be free because she's no longer on this planet. What happened to her? You know? So so remember to live and love carefully, wisely. Please stay away from pastors. I wouldn't advise anyone to go anywhere near a pastor. Only pasta with nice cheese sauce. or mushrooms, pasta and mushrooms. Sorry, I'm making light of it. I shouldn't do it, but if you didn't laugh, you'd cry in some of these cases. Anyway, poor Mica. My heart just breaks for her, because you could see she was miserable one way or another. And as I say, either she's done it to herself because of his actions, or he has done this to her. And her time will tell. Justice for Mica. We just want to find out the truth, don't we? So I'm just going to play a little bit of music for Mica, actually, as you know, just end this video. Rest in peace, Mica. Fly free. Prayer for you. Candle for you. And for your family. And you know, it's just a shame that a beautiful person like Mica is ended up in this place with, you know, whether self-deletion or whether somebody else did it to her. Tragic. We need people like Mica in this world. Adios, Mica. Sleep well. Sleep well. Rest well. At least you're not in any pain, not any more torment of wondering, I hope you did God. Anyway, see you all again. And until then, may your God go with you.